Hello, everyone. Welcome to ITTF HBD webinar. I'm Yasna Radar, and I'm here with Omar Rafat, ITTF Development Officer. And we're going to today talk to Paralympians from Tokyo on Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games player experience. We're going to cover agenda first, we need to know what is the webinar code for Q&A. We're going to introduce our guest, and we're going to talk about player experiences at Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. And then we're going to end up with question and answer session. The webinar code for today is please leave your questions in Q&A section. The guests will try to answer as many possible questions from the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Yasna. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with our amazing panelists who have inspired us so much during Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. We're honored to have our guest today. I will let Yasna please introduce our guests.
Yeah, we have an amazing group of athletes here. With us is Will Bayley, member of British Empire, who represented GBR team in Paralympics and who represents England team in other events. He won in 2012 London Paralympics silver in singles in class 7. He won in 2014 Para World Championship gold in singles and bronze in team event. He won in 2016 Rio Paralympics gold in singles class 7. And he won in this current 2020 Tokyo Paralympics silver in singles class 7 and in team classes 6-7. Then we have Bhavina Patel from India, who played also in Tokyo Paralympics and won silver in class 4. And then we have Ian Seidenfeld of USA, who won gold in class 6 in Tokyo Paralympics. Welcome, everyone.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Hi, Ian. Hi, Will. Hi, Bhavina.
Hi, guys.
Omar is going to start with the first set of questions.
Thanks, Yasna. Hello again, everyone. I will start the first question today. And actually my first question is for Will. So Will, of course, the Paralympic Games for all of us is the biggest para event in the world. And the preparation for such event is, of course, the #1 priority for all athletes. So could you please tell us more about your journey from 2016 until 2020 Tokyo Paralympic Games?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's been a crazy journey the last few years after 2016. I don't know anyone who sort of followed my journey would know that I did a show called Strictly Come Dancing, which is like a big show in England, and did that in 2017. And I tore my cruciate ligament, which is a really important part of your knee. So I had a big operation on that in 2018, and then I've been struggling with my knee a little bit, but sort of the lockdown really helped me. We had a big lockdown here, obviously, and everywhere, but yeah, it really helped me sort of get my fitness back. And this is cutting a long story short, but I felt like I had a good preparation for Tokyo, and I was so fired up to try and win another gold medal in Tokyo. That was my dream. So yeah, and I felt like I had a great opportunity. So I knew that I had to take it, because you never know when these times are going to come again. So I was so fired up, and yeah, come away with the 2 silvers, which I'm still proud about, still happy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, of course, it was a very challenging journey, I would say, but it's a great inspiration for everyone. You know, you didn't, you continued improving even after the lockdown, and you got your fitness back. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing with us. My next question now is actually for Ian. So Ian, also you had an extraordinary journey to Tokyo Paralympic Games. Could you please share with us about your journey to the Paralympics? And then once you made it, what were your expectations?
Yeah. So mine was a little different than Will's, being that I was a much lower ranked player. So basically a lot of it starts in 2019, where I was at the time probably 12th or 15th ranked, and I'm playing in Italy and Spain, and unfortunately on that trip my father breaks his leg on the trip in the Netherlands. And so at that point, I don't have him coaching me. I have to go on to Italy and Spain without him. I have kind of a very poor tournament in Italy, and then I have a worse tournament in Spain, where my opponents short serve me. And so basically trying to figure out how I can get those serves back. So I lost a lot of ranking points there and ranking stuff there. And then I play in the Pan American Games, and I lose there. After I had played Pino Lorca 3 times at that tournament and won 2 of them, but lost the important one. And so from that point on, I'm still training to try and compete in Tokyo at the World Qualifying Tournament. But in April of 2020, I find out that Pino Lorca had tested positive for a banned substance, and that I would be going to the Paralympics. And then during 2020, during COVID and the shutdowns, was a lot of training for me, really building back my game, breaking it down to the fundamentals, kind of trying to fix all the different weirdness in my strokes in my game, and then also trying to figure out how I can return short serves better, and which I did with a paddle extension. And then, yeah, pretty much getting into the Paralympics was a very good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I would say a very great story, and we want to know also more about what was your expectation. Once now you've reached the Paralympic Games, what did your expectation? How was it, and what was your goal going into the Tokyo Paralympics?
I think everyone kind of goes into the Paralympics wanting to win a gold, probably very naively in a lot of ways. We don't really know. I didn't know exactly how tough it would be, but I had my father, kind of, who has won a Paralympic gold medal and won a lot of Paralympic medals, telling me, kind of giving me advice on how to act, how to stay disciplined, how to just save energy in a lot of ways. And so basically I was trying to go in with the attitude that I was just happy to be there. Of course, there's still pressure at the beginning, but I kind of lost a lot of that pressure as I moved through the tournament in the quarters and semis, and ultimately in the finals. I had no pressure.
Thanks a lot, Ian. Yeah, for sure. It's great to have, as you know, the support of your father and your coach. So yeah, I believe it was a very great journey for you. Thanks a lot for sharing with us. I want just to remind all the audience, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat here, and at the end in our Q&A section we will go through your questions. So my next question is for Bhavina. Bhavina, you are now the first women athlete from India to win a Paralympic medal at table tennis in Tokyo. Tell us more about also your journey to the games and what was your biggest challenge. Oh, Bhavina, you are muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you, yes.
very so many challenges are there to reach up to Paralympics. But I just done hard work, and that only show in a Paralympics. Yeah, this is my to reach Paralympics. That's my dream. So I just done it. I just done hard work, and that's only result came as a silver medal.
Yeah, thank you so much. For sure, it was a great achievement winning the silver medal. But can you tell us also how are the Paralympics different than other tournaments? So you won a silver medal at the Paralympics, but how is it different than any other medal you won?
Yeah, because so many changes are now came because before like this much not I not got publicity and media coverage and people's how now showing to in India country. So for me that's a big thing because I seen so many times so many the countries for India not like valuable, but now so many people are know, so many countries are know. India also can do something special and can in a sports also they do big achievements.
Yeah,
So
thank you
for
so
me
much.
in Paralympics, that's great and yeah, different.
All right, thanks so much, Bhavina, for sharing with us. I will now pass the floor to Yasna for the next question.
I will. So, what was your toughest match in Tokyo? And you being one of the most decorated athletes in para table tennis, what were your really expectations coming in?
Obviously, yeah. Sorry, can you hear me now? I'm muted. Yeah, yeah. My toughest match was the final. Obviously, I think more, to be honest, more mentally than physically and like technically or anything like that. I think I had a tough semi-final to get through to the final, and then when I played the final, I was kind of like mentally drained quite a lot, and then found it really difficult to overcome that last hurdle. So maybe I wanted it too much, to regain my title, and it was a lot of pressure, and I felt, I just didn't deliver the performance that I know I can do, and what I've been doing in training for the last like 6 months before the Paralympics. I didn't play to that level. Um, and the second question, what was it again? The second question, it was
What were your expectations? That was
expectations.
yes.
My expectations were to win it. I felt like I was the best player in the world, and I felt like I had a great opportunity. I knew I knew I was a better player than I was in Rio, and I won Rio, so I thought that I could do it again, and I had big expectations. But that was kind of I've always had that sort of confidence that if I prepare well and I train hard, then I can win against anyone, and I think we all have that really deep down. We have that inner belief. If you don't, then you're going to struggle. I think in any sport, you have to believe that you can win, and I definitely believed that I could win in Tokyo. Just didn't manage to deliver it, but still, I'm proud of my performance, and yeah, happy with the outcome
Overall,
to a certain extent.
thank you.
Yeah.
Overall, how was your experience in these Paralympics different from previous Paralympics?
Oh, for me, it was still so special, to be in a Paralympics, and the older I'm getting, the more I'm holding on to the memories, and the more it means to me to be a part of the Paralympics. It's my life. I live for these moments, these moments that only come around once every 4 years. I don't really have a life outside of table tennis. It's all I think about, you know. It's what I dream about when I go to bed at night, and when I wake up in the morning, I dream about winning a gold medal. And to be in Tokyo, it was special because I thought the people of you know, the games makers, the people that helped us around, they made that extra special. They were so helpful, so supportive, and that made it so special. Also, the atmosphere that they created was like, there was a real buzz around the stadiums, around even in the village. I thought that there was a good atmosphere, a good buzz, and we were all like grateful to have the opportunity to compete at this level. You know, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity that I could compete in Tokyo. So I think a lot of athletes were.
Well, we hope to see you in Paris as well, doing well.
Definitely.
Well, Ian, what was your most difficult match in Tokyo, and how does it feel to win final against so dominant player like Peter Rosenmeier, who won gold in 2016 Rio and also in 2008 Beijing?
For the first part of that question, the toughest match, I think the most stressful match was the Parensen match. He's a good young player. I don't like losing to people younger than me, and I had already lost to him before. He does the short serve very well, and that would have been the first time I'm using the paddle extension in a para match. So I only got about 3 hours of sleep that night for a 9 a.m. match, and then I knew I had 2 other matches later in the day. So the Ditoni match, that was the last match of the day in the quarterfinals, was really tough as well. Just how long the day was then, and he's a really good player that beat the number 1 ranked player in the tournament. But definitely the match against Peter Rosenmeier was definitely the one that I needed to bring the highest level of play for. But I can't say I really pumped up too much for it. I was kind of, like Will said, you're very mentally drained by that point. But I kind of used just the fact that I was really happy to compete at the finals to push me over. What was the second question?
The second question was about the Rosenmeier. How was to play against somebody who is so well decorated in table tennis, and him coming into the event, defending the gold medal, and you, somebody who just first time got into the Paralympics. How was it different to play that final match comparing to the group match with him?
Yeah, the group match, that was definitely a different experience, but my mentality going into the first match was, obviously you feel a little pressure playing the first match of the Paralympics against the Paralympic champion, and I would say he was the odds-on favorite to win. And so that the first match was started out awfully. I mean, he went up 7-1 to start the match and just made every shot, and I was thinking, man, if he keeps doing this, I'm gonna lose pretty badly. But I knew once we had gone to the fifth, I was playing pretty well, or actually I wasn't playing that well, but I was still in the match. So knowing that I could do that without playing my best, and I still had a lot to show later in the tournament, I was confident in the finals that I could change things up enough to make it more difficult for him. But I didn't really think about winning before the finals or during the finals. I was just really happy to play the final match, and I didn't really think about kind of where he was at, being the 2-time Paralympic champion. I think a lot of that is noise that's not really good to think about when you're playing someone that you're probably not supposed to beat.
At moments in that final, you seemed like you were smiling. Were you extremely relaxed being in the final, or what was going on in your head?
Yeah, I was just kind of staying present, knowing that this is a dream to be able to play in this kind of match. Like I said, just I love to compete, and so I pretty much just told myself if I love to compete, then this is where I want to be right now. But yeah, I don't know. I don't usually play very happy. I'm usually a very angry player when I play, and I kind of feed off of that sort of energy. But this tournament, I decided to do something a little different, and the results happen to be pretty good.
Bhavina, could you give us a short summary of Tokyo matches that led to your medal? We need to unmute you.
Now you can
Yeah, we hear you. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so happy to say about my journey because I'm coming from small. I'm belong from small village. When I started table tennis, that time I'm belong from my village. I never seen in my dream table tennis one of game also. So. After that, when I came at Ahmedabad in India, I seen some my friends. They are playing table tennis, and I just tried with them. And that time, I just started to play with them, and that time my interest was increased, and I started to play table tennis and that things always remind me. Yes, after that for me one goal was came. I think yes, I want to play in Paralympics, and I started training for that, and 2016 I already qualified, but some technical issue I not participate in Paralympics, but this time I think I want to participate, and I want to do too much hard work. Then only I can reach at Paralympics. So just I started, and in Paralympics Tokyo, for me so many experience, and I got so many lessons also because in there I learned so many things. Because for me Paralympics this is first time, and I just tried my best, and I given my 100%.
Thank you. How did you feel before that match for a medal, and then how did you feel after it?
Yeah, when I went to Paralympics, before I just think I never think I want to win one medal. I just think I want to give my 100%, and what result come, I will be accept. But I just think I want to give everyday hard work, and that's only I show on table. What I done there, that only that show in game. And after winning medal, for me this is a big thing. This is for me a very proud moment because for India this is first time Indian woman in para TT. Someone is one. This is first time for me. So for me this is proud moment, and yes, I feel so much happy.
We're glad too that that happened for you, and we can understand that India is very proud of you now. Omar, please continue with the next set of questions.
Thanks, Yasna. So yeah, my next question is for Will. So Will, we know, of course, being an elite athlete requires commitment. So my question is, how do you balance your family life with high demands of elite competitions?
But
Sorry, Will.
so
Okay.
yeah, it's really tricky actually. I've I've struggled with it over the years, and especially now I've got two young children. But for me, I have to train away, so I live away from home. So I live for a year before Tokyo. I lived in Sheffield, which is the national training centre, and then I went home like every other weekend for like 2 days, and then I went back to the training centre. So yeah, it's the sacrifices that you have to make to get to the top. I mean, I have to be based at the National Training Centre to be able to train sort of 6 hours a day, practicing and making sure that I'm as good as I can be. I'm not the most talented guy in the world, like 100% not. I'm probably one of the least talented guys, so I have to work extra hard because otherwise I'm really bad. If I don't train, I could lose to absolutely anyone. So I think the harder I work, the sort of the luckier I get, and the better the better results obviously I get. So yeah, it's just one of those things. There's some players that can sort of train a lot less, and it works for them. But for me, I have to train a lot to be competitive.
Yeah, definitely, and we can see for sure a lot of sacrifice. But yeah, did you train your children table tennis or not yet?
Not yet, but maybe one day. I think I'd get them into something a bit easier to start with, because my little girl Bella, she's a bit crazy, so I think she'll be flinging bats everywhere and getting a bit annoyed at me. So stick to maybe tennis, because she'll be able to hit the ball a bit easier to start with. It's a bigger racket, so maybe start with tennis and then maybe table tennis afterwards.
Yeah, perfect. So thanks a lot, Will.
No worries.
Yeah, my next question is for Ian. So Ian, you were talking about for sure your father's support, and your father is a gold medalist in Barcelona. So having him in your side as your coach, how is that affecting you as a person, and how it is impacting your game?
Yeah, as a person, I think it means a lot to me to have that kind of role model. I know a lot of para or disabled athletes, they're looking for a role model like that, and I've kind of had one my entire life. So it's given me a great way to understand kind of what I need to do and how I need to compose myself throughout a tournament and come off to people. So I started as a really hot-headed kid, so I hated to lose, and I'm not a good loser even now. So I had to learn how not to do different things, how not to get too upset and yell and stuff. So he's taught me a lot about that. And as a player, I mean, my dad is probably one of the most technically skilled, one of the smartest players ever. I mean, it's hard to say. He plays at so much higher of a level than any of us really can think of. His level is just at his best is just way higher than mine right now, and probably will be. So that's how I think of him a lot of times. If you play him, or if you had played him in the past, it's a nightmare of a match that you just almost don't want to be playing anymore. From my experience.
Thanks a lot, Ian. And very very important question. Who wins now when you play again?
We don't play anymore. We didn't. That was actually part of our training, is that we didn't play any matches before the Paralympics, just because when I lose, I get really upset, and way more upset after losing to him. So we knew that if I lost a match in a training session, the training session was over. And we tried to use as much time as possible in those training sessions and not waste anything. That's kind of part of the way we train, because we don't train as many hours. Like Will was saying, he trains 6 hours. I train 3 days a week, 1.5 hours, probably max training sessions on the table, and then try to bike 2 or 3 days outside of it. But so definitely a very different training schedule for us, so we can't waste any time.
Yeah, perfect. And before your matches, do you guys discuss the tactics how do you prepare, for your important matches with your father?
Usually I don't like to listen to him too much. I've always played kind of without a coach at the table. He never coached me when I was younger at the table because I just couldn't handle having him there kind of telling me things. And so we carried that a little bit into this tournament, but I also listened a little bit more. So before each match, I suppose, yeah, he kind of gave me some basic things to think about that we had already talked about the night before, probably. But he never tries to go too overboard with what he says.
Thanks so much, Ian, for sharing with us. I will direct my next question for Bhavina. So Bhavina, we have seen how is the people welcomed you in the airport after you come back from Tokyo. It was so much celebrations, and many people were greeting you. So you are now becoming very popular in India. So how does that change your everyday life? And do you like to be in that spotlight, or is it becoming too much for you?
Yeah, now life was very busy because so many people want to and so many felicitation programs and so many things are going on. Uh, yeah, I don't want to be in sports line because I want to focus on my game and I want to concentrate in.
Yeah, for sure. And with the busy schedule, are you able to train as much as you were training before?
Yes, I want to prepare for 2024 uh, Paris Paralympics. So I want to much more hard work and I want to.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Bhavina, for sharing with us. And for sure, we know it. You will. Of course, working for 2024 is the goal, and yeah, we wish you all the best in it. I will now pass to you, Yasna, for the next question.
Okay, Ian, can you please tell us, and somebody who, let's say, somebody was never in Paralympics or Olympics, and they want to know how is to be in a Paralympic village. What do you guys find there? What kind of food? What kind of lifestyle athletes have there?
Yeah, the Paralympic Village is pretty much just like a small city that they've erected right on a very beautiful tract of land in Japan. So there's, I think, like 21 buildings. The US had their own building pretty much to themselves. So we were in an enclosure with all of our athletes. And within that building, the US team had their own physical therapy center, kind of where there was multiple rooms of therapists that worked on you, as well as nutritionists and massage rooms and ice baths. We had mental health officers for that. We also had just athlete resources in general, where we can pick up snacks, rest, pretty much anything an athlete needed in our own building. And then outside of our building, there was a massive dining hall with about any type of food that you wanted, all amazingly made. I enjoyed the pho and ramen and the soups a lot more. But just there was kind of westernized dishes and a lot of Asian dishes that were either fried or cooked, and it was all amazing. And there were 2 floors of dining halls in one building, and then they had another kind of what it was called the casual dining in another building, which had its own kind of large, that was more Japanese cuisine. So you got to try kind of more traditional Japanese cuisine in another building's dining hall. So about 3 dining halls that were open for most of the day or all of the day in some cases. And then they had a rec center where people could relax, as well as a gym that some of the athletes could train in. I don't know if the table tennis athletes needed the gym too much, but I know I didn't really. I only went in to look. I never used it to actually work out. Um, and then there was also a area where people could buy souvenirs and kind of treasure hunt for different things that they wanted to give to athletes, like shoes or cooling towels or phone cases in some instances.
Thank you, Ian. Will, would you add something? And then does it get better with every Paralympics? Do you feel it's like better and better, or it's about the same?
I think it's just like as I've got older, I've like chilled out a lot more, and I can enjoy it more. So for me, it's got better. But I think the games is always, obviously, it's so special. It's the most amazing feeling that you can't really like describe that easily. For me, I think just, it's the history of the games and what it means to me, and like seeing previous winners of the event. Like I've always rated players or like an athletes on their Olympic success or their Paralympic success. So like for example, like Michael Johnson or something like that. I've always looked at him in the Olympics, and he's been like an idol. And then like so, see in like Tanni Gray Thompson, who's a Paralympic athlete, she's been an idol. So you want to sort of recreate those sort of what they've done, what they've achieved, and try and like you know win it on the biggest stage. And you can feel the specialness when you go to the games, and you can feel the sort of like the atmosphere is different. I believe to any other game, to any other sort of tournament, major tournament, even the World Championships or European Championships, is definitely very special. And yeah, definitely the older I'm getting, the more I'm thinking that it's it's just something that I'll never forget for as long as I live. That these memories will live with me till the day I die. So it must be special.
Thank you. Bhavina, would you add something? What did you really like about the village? Do we have her still?
I think she might have got disconnected, I think.
Maybe she got disconnected. Okay, then we can ask you guys about the opening ceremony. Did you guys go to opening ceremony? If you did not go, why you did not go? So maybe Will, you can start.
Yeah, sure. No, we didn't go. We weren't allowed to go, so we were just because of COVID and everything like that. And I think they were pretty strict on us. Obviously, I think everyone in the village was pretty strict. So yeah, we stayed in and watched it, and we created a bit of an atmosphere just amongst the table tennis team. It was nice to get everyone together, and yeah, it was good to watch it on the TV. We set it up downstairs, and as a team, a few different sports came downstairs and watched it together. And yeah, it was awesome. It was a good build up to start the tournament.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, I didn't attend the opening ceremony either. Table tennis starts on the first day of after the opening ceremonies. And a lot of the factors going into that is just how tiring the opening ceremony is, and the fact that there wouldn't be spectators in the stands, so it kind of takes away from the experience. But also my disability just it has an effect of getting tired and wearing down very easily. So it's a lot of factors that go into it. Just kind of weighing whether it's worth it or not. And our team, other than one athlete, decided not to participate in the opening ceremonies. But I was hoping to participate in the closing ceremonies because that's when the games are over. But I don't think almost any athletes were able to do that.
Was everyone was a requirement for all the countries that they have to leave 48 hours after their competition, or that was just for some countries?
I thought it was for all countries, but maybe it was just the US. I'm not sure, but I know we had to leave 48 hours after we lost, so we left on the next flight home after we're done.
Will, was that same for GB team?
Yeah, yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, for every sport in the GB team, we had to go straight after our last match, really. 48 hours.
Okay,
Yeah.
Bhavina, we were asking Will and Ian if they went to opening ceremony, and if they did not go, what was the reason to not go? So we would like to know if you went to opening ceremony. I think we might have lost her again. Sorry. Will, what are your future plans? I mean, you already kind of mentioned to us that table tennis is your life, and I don't expect to not see you in 2024. So I know that you're probably going for another medal. But
Yeah.
what is in general your goal in upcoming years?
Sorry, Will, we cannot hear you.
Well, you got disconnected, Will, with the sound. Now,
No, we still cannot hear you.
something changed in the setting maybe. But Bhavina, maybe you can answer about the opening ceremony. If you went to the opening ceremony, and if you did not go, what was the reason for not going there? Ian, what are your future plans after after these games, and what do you hope to achieve in next few years?
After the games, I'm a student at the University of Minnesota studying finance and entrepreneurial management. So I think even before the Paralympics, I kind of hedged my bets, and I had an internship in this last summer at a company called Non-In Medical. So I was kind of preparing for a career as I graduate college in the next year or two. I intend to keep playing table tennis uh, with as much intensity as possible, and my goals are kind of I'm hoping to do my best at the 2022 World Championships, as well as the 2024 Paris Paralympics. Um, so I'll try and do whatever life can kind of allow me. But definitely table tennis is still a priority, but I also prioritize other aspects of my life too.
Thank you. Will, let's try again now.
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, what am I up to? Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep busy. My mind's always better when I'm busy. So I've taken a bit of time off from table tennis now. I haven't played. I did a TV show called The Pilgrimage, which is like a long sort of like walk basically from Ireland to Scotland and Wales and all through sort of like Great Britain. And so that was like it's like a faith show, so it's like Christianity, Buddhism, yeah, Sikhism, and learning a lot about different religions. So that was really good fun, and sort of just trying to sort of do things in the media. Sort of like I'd like to work in the media one day, whether it's behind the camera or in front of the camera. So yeah, I'm sort of studying a lot and trying to get into that. But I'm also training a lot and going back to the national centre in January. So to train for the next season and try and win the world champ or try and do well in the world championships, the next world. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a big target of mine to do well in the Worlds. And yeah, it's exciting. I think para table tennis is getting stronger and stronger, so it's more and more exciting to be a part of it because the challenge is getting harder, and that's sort of like that's where you get the most out of yourself when you're pushing yourself to the extremes and you're working hard, and it gets, you know, that's what it's all about. So it's exciting to be a part of para table tennis.
Thank you, Will. Omar, would you like to start with the Q&A section?
Sure. Thanks, Yasna. I will start with the first question. The question is from Ahmed Khosfi. So the question is, I will direct for sure this question to you, Ian. So what is your training method? How often do you train, and what is your focus when you train?
Okay, so I train I try and train 3 days a week on the table, as well as 2 to 3 times biking. On the table training, it's specific to really working on basic forehands and backhands, and making sure you can hit 100, 200, 300 in a row without missing, as well as varying the spin, the speed, your placement within the table. So being farther off the table versus closer, how that can affect the speed that you're taking the ball off of the table, as well as the speed that it comes back to the player. Varying where you're hitting it, being able to hit it off the sides, right at the corner, into the middle. And then really a lot of my training is just variations off of basic drills of start with underspin and then you loop up, whether you want to loop short, loop half, or loop deep, loop high with spin, loop with lower, flatter, or just coming in and driving a ball. And just being able to hit all of those shots with, say, 90% accuracy. Obviously trying to do small movements and just stuff that won't aggravate my body. My hips kind of are the main factor in that. So if I try not to twist too much in practices. And then, so that's the method of just trying to be pretty precise with everything. Staying as disciplined as possible in our training sessions because we only have an hour and a half. Biking, I tried to kind of get my level up to being able to bike 7 to 8 miles without feeling very tired. And so it's easier in the spring and summer when it's nice out in Minnesota, but in the winter when it gets cold, I have an indoor bike to ride, but it's very tough to do that because you don't like know where you're going, so I don't really like it that much. But yeah, that's the training method.
Thanks a lot, Ian, for sharing. Bhavina, can you hear us now? Are you with us? Still cannot hear you. Let me. Okay. Can you hear us now?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we were asking you earlier about, did you attend the training ceremony for Tokyo? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Bhavina?
I not went ceremony because I got no, I not went. Yeah, I not went closing ceremony also because before that we having flight from for India, so we can from Tokyo.
Okay, so yeah, you didn't attend because of your matches, you're saying, right? Okay, so Bhavina, you didn't attend. You're saying because of your matches, right? Because you want to prepare for your matches? Can you hear me? Okay. So we can move on now with the Q&A questions with the rest of the Q&A. All right. So my next question is for you.
I want to focus on games, so I not went. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Bhavina. Well, my next question is for you. So, how important is your mental preparation before a major competition, and how do you prepare?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I think I don't really do too much in terms of psychology sessions, but mentally, I gain my mental sort of strength from just like hard training and feeling like I've left everything sort of in the training hall and I couldn't give any more. That's where I get my sort of mental strength from and where I get my belief from. And I think that's people get it in different ways, and that's the way I get it, and that's so important to me. If I feel like I could have done more, or feel like I've left a stone unturned in my preparation, then it can affect me on the table, you know. I think, yeah, so that's where I get my mental strength from, just doing the hard work.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Will. I will now pass the floor to you, Yasna, for the next question.
Okay, Pablo Perez, our para leader in ITTF, was asking, COVID-19 created a lot of unusual circumstances in Tokyo, such as the use of masks, the lack of public, the limited contact with other athletes, etc. Which of them was the most difficult one for you? Will, if you can answer this one.
Yeah, I think the fans, having no fans in the arena was probably the most disappointing. Obviously, I've had the privilege of, this is my fourth games, and was nothing like the atmosphere of a Paralympics and the noise. And yeah, I feel bad for people who have just played one and they haven't experienced it. But yeah, when they, I think France will be unreal atmosphere. So I can't wait to play in front of big crowds again. I think it'll take it to another level. Imagine Tokyo with crowds. It would have been off the scale good. So it was amazing anyway, but with crowds, it would have taken it another notch up.
Thank you. We have one similar question from Zhao Peng. What was the biggest change from 2016 Rio compared to 2020 Tokyo Paralympics?
The biggest change.
Yes.
Shall I answer that? Because I went to both.
I mean, besides the COVID part, let's put COVID on the side. But is there any major change?
For me, I've got to be honest. I'll be really honest. I thought Tokyo was. I thought it was a bit better than Rio, to be honest. I thought the venue was better, to be honest. I thought Rio was a good venue, very, very good, but Tokyo was a great venue. And also I felt that just like the amount of support they had and the amount of preparation that was put into the games and into table tennis around the just being around the table tennis area a lot, I felt that was world class. The way they provided things for us and the organisation and stuff was world class, and so I think it went up another notch in Tokyo for sure.
Thank you. Maybe Ian, if you can also let us know what was the toughest part. Was it wearing mask, a lack of public, or limited contact with other athletes in Tokyo?
Yeah, I think for me it was probably limited masks, or the masks. In the US, by the time of Tokyo, we kind of stopped wearing masks in general, or we no longer had mask mandates. So starting to wear it again, kind of 24 hours a day, or all the time when we're outside and in very high humidity and high heat was a little more difficult. Not having fans, I was okay with a little bit. Obviously, would have been nice to have fans, but I'm used to not having fans, and I like to play in a very quiet area. And so it worked out for me a little bit in that sense. But also I would have liked to kind of talk to the other athletes a little bit more and hang out with them. But with masks and kind of being told not to do that kind of stuff, it got a little more difficult. So that was probably it wasn't the full experience, but I think it was done as well as the games could have been done. Japan was probably the only country that could have done it at this high of a level.
Thank you. Will, one of the questions is asking that players normally seek opponents' weaknesses. Are you a player focused more on strengths or of your opponent's weaknesses?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me it's all about trying to do what I do really well. Trying to play to my strengths and trying to put my philosophy of how I want to play into the table in every game I play. I'm not too worried about what they're doing unless it's a very specific player, like a very awkward player. I mean, Alvaro Valera, for example, is a legendary player. Playing him 10 years ago, I had to change the way I played totally. I had to play a really different style of table tennis, which I don't really like. But that was the only way I could be effective. So yeah, you have to change certain players, but I tried to just play the way I play and hope that's enough.
And now for Ian, a little bit reversed question. Now, when you are practicing, do you focus more on your strengths or weaknesses?
I spent the entire time working on my weaknesses. When I'm practicing, I've just kind of figured that my strengths are my strengths, and obviously make sure those are still working well, and obviously always changing them a little bit, but definitely focusing a lot more on the weaknesses and a lot more on kind of what they don't have to be weaknesses per se, but they have to be, if you can change it a little bit, what will happen. So I think in training sessions, it's good to experiment just to see if I put this type of spin on the ball or catch under the ball more, or if I can fling it in a different way. That's always benefit in my game, is the experimentation with things and then putting that out into a match and practice matches that you're not so worried about winning or losing, but still want to kind of have a really high intensity. I like to put out a high intensity and put a lot of pressure on myself during the kind of unimportant matches, so that during the important matches, you're kind of used to that kind of pressure.
And then when you play against somebody, do you focus more on their strengths or weaknesses? Ian?
Well, I know I don't want to go to their strengths. So if I can change a ball up enough that's not to their strengths, I would prefer to go to their weaknesses, and really make them play a game that they don't want to play, kind of take them to a place that they don't want to be in, while also trying to get off my good shots when it's the right time. So I think it all adds up. If you can play into their weaknesses and then at the right times get your own game going, that always seems to yield the best results, kind of hedging the two.
Omar, would you like to take other questions, please?
Thanks, Yasna. I will ask also Ian. Tell us more about your life outside of table tennis. So, what do you like to do in your free time? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, I think kind of COVID gave me a lot of time to just do a bunch of different things. Obviously, school goes on for about 8 months of the year. So 8 months of the year I'm working on school. playing in different clubs. We have a table tennis club at the University of Minnesota, so I was the treasurer of that for the last 2 years. I like to read books. I like to watch a lot of TV. Um, I'm watching C right now on Apple TV, which is a very, very interesting show with Jason Momoa. I kind of took up painting while I was in COVID, and then quit because it got it got a little too time consuming. But yeah, outside of table tennis, just trying to socialize and do a bunch of different things, but I don't try and worry about too many things.
Yeah, thank you so much. And tell us also more about how are you balancing your study with practicing table tennis?
Yeah, I think it's all about prioritizing, knowing that you have to be disciplined in your schoolwork as well. You have to, when you have an assignment, don't put it off. Start it as soon as possible. Go to classes. But there's a lot of things in training that don't have to be on the table. The idea of just kind of projection and mental training in a lot of ways doesn't have to be on the table. So it's utilizing any kind of free time to kind of better myself in other ways. I like to read different books or listen to different abridged books that can help with different mindset, with health, nutrition, just different things that will hopefully I can absorb. Whether or not I'm doing it consciously is always fun. But yeah, I think also I limit my school workload a lot too. I try not to have a heavy credit load, just so that I know I don't want to take too much time to stress out about school and table tennis and all the other things, the plethora of things that I want to do.
Thanks a lot, Ian. Yeah, my next question is for you, Will. You mentioned you spent most of your time thinking about table tennis, but do you find some time to pursue your interest in media? And how does your participation in the TV shows fit with your table tennis life?
Yeah, it's tricky, but obviously because it's great to be involved in the media. So I usually get, I've been really lucky to do Strictly Come Dancing, and then I've done a few things since then, and now I've just filmed The Pilgrimage, which fitted in really well because I had one day back in the UK after Tokyo, and then we went straight to Ireland. So I literally went straight to do the filming, and literally just got back a few days ago. So yeah, we have to be lucky with dates and things, so it fits in with the table tennis. But it's definitely a priority in mine because it would be cool to carry that on. Like, we know table tennis is probably a short career, right? I can't carry on forever, and so I never know when my last game is going to be. So I just want to, maybe get some skills, especially in presenting, between now and maybe LA would be a cool place to finish. Maybe there, or, and then hopefully I can go into media after that. I mean, it's a tough thing to get into, but I'll keep trying.
For sure, balancing, as you said, balancing is a little bit challenging, but thanks a lot for sharing. Actually, yeah, this is like the end of our Q&A section. For me personally, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I will now pass to Yasna for the wrap up.
I first want to say sorry about Bhavina's connection. I wish we could hear more from her. You guys also, we could have another 5 hours of this. It's so much fun to hear stories and preparation and everything in regards to this event and in general, your journey to the Paralympics. Thank you for being part of the webinar from ITTF, and all participants who are listening to us. Follow us on ITTF World and check ittfeducation.com for updates and future webinars. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Thank you.
See you around, Yasmin.